Welcome to Beyond the Coverage. I'm Chris Horner. This is your Giro d'Italia 2022 preview. It's the last day. Race is starting tomorrow, so all the action is going to be intense on stage one. Now, stage one has a little bit of uphill finish, so it's not quite set up for the pure sprinters, but they might survive tomorrow's stage. Or it could be the legendary rider Mathieu van der Poel Alpecin Phoenix putting on the pink jersey at the end of stage one. So, the objectives for the other sprinters. If they can survive tomorrow's stage, they're going to sprint. But if not, which I don't know, it looks a little bit difficult to say if the pure sprinters are going to be there on tomorrow's stage one, but they will have chances when we're talking about 3, 5, and 6 stages here at the Giro d'Italia. Those are going to be incredibly important for my top picks here, especially for my top 2 picks here at the Giro d'Italia. I'm talking Caleb Ewan and, of course, Mark Cavendish from Quick-Step. Now, Caleb Ewan, best sprinter in the world, and I'll put him down as the best in 2022. He has victories throughout the season here at 2022, winning 2 stages at Tour of Turkey, and then taking a stage at Trino Adriatico, and I believe it was UAE Team Emirates and another stage somewhere else. Caleb Ewan is a player, the best pure sprinter in the world when we're talking about the last few years, and I believe, again, the best in 2022. If you want to argue with me about Fabio Jakobsen, I can understand why you'd pick him, but I'm still going Caleb Ewan. But keep in mind with Caleb Ewan and Mark Cavendish, there's a little bit of hiccup there with Mark Cavendish, but with Caleb Ewan, after we get through stage 6, he might drop out of Giro d'Italia and start focusing on the Tour de France. Maybe he rides a couple more stages longer here just to get some deeper training into the legs. But I wouldn't be surprised stage 6 finishes, he wraps it up, heads home, or goes home on the next rest day. Either or. Now, the predicament Mark Cavendish is in here at the Giro d'Italia. I'd call him here at the 2022 season the 3rd best sprinter of this season, but 2nd best sprinter here at the Giro d'Italia because Fabio Jakobsen is not starting here. But Cavendish has one dilemma here. He wants to be at the Tour de France, guys. He doesn't want to be here at the Giro d'Italia, but he has to be here and he has to win. If he cannot win on stage 3, 5, and 6, because he's not going to win on stage 1, that's for certain. Other sprinters might survive, but I'd be really surprised if we see Mark Cavendish here at the finish line winning tomorrow's stage 1. But with 3, 5, and 6, he's got solid chances to win. The only problem, again, being that he hasn't won against Caleb Ewan. He's won against the best in the world, and I'm put him as number 3 in the world right now, the 2022 season, because he already has 3 victories this year. And when he won a UAE Tour, he won in dominant style when he won that stage. Then he won again in Milano Torino, and he won at the Saudi Tour early in the season. So Mark Cavendish has a sprinkle of wins throughout this 2022 season, and honestly should be going to the Tour de France, but Fabio Jakobsen, the number 2 best sprinter in the world, and like I said, if you wanted to argue he's number 1, I could see your point, but I'm still going with Caleb Ewan. But they're teammates. So Mark Cavendish is in a big predicament. If he can't win stages 3, 5, and 6, 1 or at least 2 of those, 2 stages, at least 1 stage out of those, he's going to have to keep racing here at the Giro d'Italia. Now, he wants to drop out here at the Giro d'Italia just like Caleb Ewan does so that he can get ready for the Tour de France. But Caleb Ewan knows he's going to the Tour de France. Mark Cavendish doesn't know if he has a seat on the Quick-Step bus for the Tour de France. So if he can't win, he's going to have to go deeper into the Giro, and he's going to have to wait until stages 11, 13, and 18 to get his shot at winning here at the Giro d'Italia. That means he's got to go further. He's got to go past the rest days, and he's got to get himself into that stage 11 so that he can win there or win 13. And then if he wins, he's going to drop out of the Giro d'Italia. But if he doesn't win, he's going to have to go deep into this Giro d'Italia so that he gets a shot at going onto the bus with the Quick-Step train and the Wolfpack all the way into the Tour de France. Only way I see him making it into the Tour de France is winning here at the Giro d'Italia, or, of course, a complete meltdown or injury or sickness to Fabio Jakobsen. That would be his other wild card to get him into the Tour de France and racing with Quick-Step. Now, Mark Cavendish has an amazing train here. He's got Michael Morkov here, who is the best lead-out man in the world. Anytime you watch these finishing sprints, keep an eye on Michael Morkov, because what he does is absolutely legendary when it comes to leading out sprinters here. The best in the world. Calm like a bomb and always in the right position to help his sprinter win stages at big Grand Tours or one-day races. So Mark Cavendish is coming with a sprint team here to help him win, and there's no reason why he can't win, with the exception of Caleb Ewan here from Lotto Soudal, is the only detriment that Mark Cavendish really has of winning a stage here at Giro d'Italia. So these first stages are going to be fun to watch because there's a lot of drama following Quick Step with Mark Cavendish, and of course Caleb Ewan, the best sprinter in the world. He should be able to take 1, 2, 3, maybe even 4 stages here before he heads out of the Giro d'Italia and gets ready for the Tour de France. Now my third pick, my third favorite sprinter here starting the Giro d'Italia, was a hard decision between Arnaud Démare and Fernando Gaviria, UAE team members. I'm going to pick Fernando Gaviria as the number 3 best sprinter here starting the Giro d'Italia. He has wins already under his belt here at the Giro d'Italia. Not wins like Mark Cavendish, who has 15 stage race victories here. Caleb Ewan has a ton of stage race victories, I believe at 5 at the Giro. Fernando Gaviria has 5 previous stage victories wins here at the Giro d'Italia also. So I'm going to put him down as my third best sprinter here starting the Giro d'Italia. And he's been winning already here at 2022 season. Now, when we look at Arnaud Démare, I remember the 2020 season here at Giro d'Italia when he won 4 stages on flying form here at the Giro that year and dominating the sprints. But here's the problem with Arnaud Démare. He's so hot and cold. You have no idea when to pick him and when not to pick him until you see him take that first win. Once you see he's on form, if he wins one of these early stages, then you know you got to start picking him for later stage victories here at the Giro d'Italia if he wins in big style with one of these early week flat stage victories here at the Giro d'Italia. But right now, Fernando Gaviria is my third pick. Now, fifth pick here at the Giro d'Italia is going to be Giacomo Nizolo. Now, Nizolo took his first stage victory here at the Giro d'Italia last year in 2021. So I'm going to put him down here as my fifth pick as the better sprinters here at the Giro d'Italia, because even though he only has 1 win throughout his career here at the Giro d'Italia, he's always been up there in seconds, thirds, top 5s throughout his career of racing at the Giro d'Italia. Has something like 10 or a dozen second place finishes in the field sprints here at the Giro d'Italia. So he's got to be ranked high. Next rider on my list has to be Ewan and Girmay, the Eritrean rider from Africa. He is on flying form, won a field sprint in Majorca early in the 2022 season, and then we all saw when he won his classic, Gent-Wevelgem, in that 5-man break, beating Christophe Laporte to the line. Now, when we go back further sprinters, this is the dilemma the other sprinters have, because when I go down the list, the only other previous Giro d'Italia winner here is my man Sasha Madolo. Now, Sasha Madolo and I were teammates on Lamprey, and he taught me one little trick about the sprinters, and I brought out the handlebars here to show you guys. When you're sprinting, now I didn't know this until 2014. I was 42 years of age. I just got done winning the Tour of Spain the year before, and I'm racing for Lamprey now, teammates with Sasha Madolo. And when we're doing Algarve, we're doing some previewing of the course, seeing the sprint finish, and he's talking about sprinting. He's got his hands down here on the bars and talking about sprinting from here. And I look over at him. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, how do you brake? Like, how do you brake if your hands are there? And he started laughing at me, and I didn't know what he's talking about, right? And I pay attention to details throughout cycling, throughout my whole career, to find all the little tricks of the trade to make myself a better rider. But I didn't know sprinters sprint from this position. They're never in this position until the very last moment when the sprint really starts taking place. They're going to move from this position and they're going to move to here. And when they need to slow down, they're going to use their shoulders and they're going to bump off of other riders to put their shoulders in the back hip of other riders, and that's how they're going to slow down. So their hands, when they're fully into the sprint scenarios, coming into that 400 meters, 600 meters, 200 meters, 100 meters, all the way to the line. They're normally going to be right here, sprinting from here, because you could get a straight pull. You could lock your arm like that, lock it in, and then really pull hard on the bars instead of being in this position where your arms are flexing here and you're losing power in your arms as they're flexing and bending. They're always going to go from here, but remember, they don't have brakes. So Sasha Modolo taught me that trick when I was 42 years of age, racing for Lamprey. Keep that in mind when you're watching the sprints. It's crazy when you look at the pictures and you see them sprinting off of the brakes all the way back at the bar ends and going full to the line. Now, other sprinters, when we're talking about here at the Giro d'Italia, remember with Caleb Ewan leaving early after the first week here at the Giro d'Italia, getting ready for the Tour de France, that's going to start opening up other opportunities for the secondary sprinters here at the Giro d'Italia to come in and try to get that stage race victory. They're going to hope Mark Cavendish has gotten a stage win on stage 3, 5, and 6 early in this Giro d'Italia, so he takes off for the Tour de France, and that opens up 2 spots. Remember, Caleb Ewan, Mark Cavendish, they want to be at the Tour de France. Caleb Ewan wants to win a stage here, grab points for his Lotto Soudal team because they need points to stay in the World Tour rankings. And then, of course, Mark Cavendish wants that selection for the Tour de France. So if Mark Cavendish can win a stage, that will get rid of the number 1 and number 2 sprinter here at the Giro d'Italia, which opens up the door for all the other sprinters. Now they have to battle against, of course, Arnaud Dumas, who I've put as my 4th favorite here, and of course Fernando Gaviria. That'll leave the door open for riders like Davide Cimolai, Simone Cassone, and Case Bowles. These riders don't have victories in the 2022 season, so these sprinters would be happy to see Mark Cavendish win early in this first week and eject out of the Giro d'Italia, see Caleb Ewan get out of here as fast as he can. So they're hoping Caleb Ewan wins right away, 3, 4, or 5, and then ejects out of the Giro, and they're hoping Mark Cavendish can win shortly after that, so Mark takes off too. And then it's really going to open up the door to be able to win a stage victory here when you lose the number 1 and number 2 sprinter here at the Giro d'Italia. Keep that in mind. Now, stages when we're looking at Mathieu van der Poel. He's not a pure sprinter, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's up there and nipping away on some stages. He's got a couple stages that are ideal for him, and I'm thinking stages 1, 8, and stage 9 look ideal for a rider like Mathieu van der Poel if he's on 100% form. Keep an eye out on those stages for Mathieu van der Poel. He should be wearing pink after stage 1 tomorrow if he's on 100% form. But this is bike racing. Nothing is over until they cross the line. Hope you guys like my take here on the Beyond the Coverage. Look, like, and subscribe to the Butterfly Effect that's coming up. We'll start shooting tomorrow after stage 1 for the Giro d'Italia and cover every stage here for the next 3 weeks of fantastic racing in Budapest and in Italy. Make sure you guys like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next edition.